Scoop. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream. We are doing a Q&A about a very new, not a DAW, a recording system called Luna. I'm joined by Ben Lindell and Connor Sexton. Say hello to the nice people, Ben and Connor.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
Wait, I need to do my trademark. Hey, how's it going? I'm Ben from Universal Audio.
Perfect. Oh, I should have done.
This
is Justin Colletti of Sonic Scoop. Thanks for joining me today. Today, we have Ben Lindell. Ben Lindell is the handsome one with a beard, and Connor is the handsome one with a beard. We've got I'm deep bearded currently. Maybe it'll come for winter. All right. Ask your questions down below. These guys know more about Luna than probably almost anyone else on the planet. Maybe there's some back-end developers on Luna who know as much as these guys. But aside from that, these are the dudes. Please ask your questions away in the chat below. We're going to be answering them in real time. Big thanks I want to give to these guys and their team first. If you haven't checked it out, Jakir King did a masterclass with us just yesterday. It was absolutely fantastic. He gave us about an hour and a half of his time. The people who watched it loved it. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. And also the folks of Universal Audio, along with our other sponsors for MixCon, are giving away thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of free gear that you can win. Go to sonicscoop.com/MixCon giveaway. That's sonicscoop.com/MixCon giveaway. I think we're going to have 3 winners on this one because there's so much gear to give away. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you guys so much for that and for being part of MixCon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, man. It's really I've been a huge fan of MixCon, even like back when I was in New York. I remember the very first year of MixCon over in Brooklyn. We came in. I was with PureMix at the time. We came in and helped you guys do some live streaming and video on that. Man, it's just always been such good content. That
was year number 2. We did that one at Rubber Track Studio. The very first one we did at the living room. There's still videos of those up. Some of those have tens and even hundreds of thousands of views. You guys, when you were with PureMix, helped us with the live stream on year 2. There were some really incredible ones there. We had track from Snarky Puppy. It was really cool. Ken Doro Eiffel, who's mixed like every big hip hop artist you can think of. Search that stuff. There's a MixCon. But enough about our awesome stuff and more about your awesome stuff. Let's get into some Luna questions because the people are chomping at the bit. They watched a whole half hour of you present and they were like, we want more. And they're here. All right. So awesome. Let's get right into it. Here's a question that did come up on the live workshop. That is our first question here. Question, sidechain, when will it be added? Thanks. Is that a common request?
When indeed. Well, we don't ever really say exactly when a new feature is coming in Luna, but if you've been watching the progress of Luna or paying attention to our social campaigns around it or emails, if you own UA products, you've seen really frequent updates to Luna, and we're at a pace where, once every 2 to 3 weeks at a minimum, spacing out a little bit more for larger releases, and you just got to stay tuned with us and keep on the train because we are continuously adding to and improving Luna in a pretty remarkable clip. So can't say when stuff is coming in advance, but it's definitely a well-known top request, and we're listening. So
got it. All right.
That's the best I can do on that one. No exact dates from Universal Audio. By now.
No dates allowed, but the more that you ask, the more that it's likely to happen sooner. So they really are responsive to this stuff. So keep on bugging them.
And please, if you use Luna, there is a feedback button right in the app, available at any time, no matter where you are on any screen in the app. You can look in the top right corner and see the feedback button. Hit that button and submit your feature requests. We count them, we pay attention to them, we review them, we tabulate it all, and that feeds into our development process.
And I'm curious here, just to get a little additional action going in the Q&A. If you guys want to type in what is your favorite feature or thing about Luna currently, and what is the number one thing that you'd love to see added. I'd love to see that if you guys want to add that to the chat below. Let's keep on going with some of these questions. Gerard Schoner asks, question, you have Neve summing in Luna, but that's a very specific sound. Will you emulate other types of summing as well, or are you just aiming to be the virtual updated new Neve?
We are aiming to be a recording system filled with analog sounds that you can choose from, and it's another sort of one of those stay tuned, keep with us kind of things, because you won't be disappointed. I'll try to leave it like that. Yeah.
Yep. I think it'd be silly if they didn't. I think they got tricks up their sleeves, and it's like, also, working in publishing, you got to give people, you can't just blow the whole thing at once. You got to keep the people coming back.
Yeah, we're just getting started for
Yeah.
real.
All right, let's keep going here. Andre writes in to say, I have become a hater of Avid. So that must be a good thing, a good thing for you guys. I assume your answer there is no comment. Gerard says, all right, let me skip to actually a question. Now I'm getting some banter here. So next question. Here's a great one from Josh Reyes. This is probably not something that you can answer directly, but I'd love to see this. He says, I wonder how long it will be before UA releases a hardware controller like the S6.
Like the S6, wow.
Go straight to large format.
Yes,
exactly. Bigger than home.
Yeah, we're a largely music focused endeavor, and that's I mean, there's just no time frame that I can put on a primarily you can use the S6 for music, but it's really targeted at post. You see it embedded in really post centric workflows primarily, but yeah.
Well, how about a baby S6, like an S1 or something?
It's one of those ones again where we don't really ever discuss kind of future plans. I hope I don't have to let everybody down by kind of drumming that line over and over again. But
you're going to say it like 12 more times. But we'll read your facial expressions to get a sense for which ones are going to happen sooner or later.
What's getting leaked here? We'll never know.
Yes, he's tight-lipped, but you can read his eyes. Which ones he lights up on, I don't know. All right, let's keep on going here. If you guys have specific questions about workflow, or if you just want to bring up features you'd love to see added, or give your comments on what you like or anything, we can also answer questions, by the way, about the Universal Audio universe in general. So if there's any particular tools that you're looking to add to your arsenal, or any particular tools you're looking for more clarity on how to use, we can answer questions like that too. So it doesn't just turn into when are we going to have this new feature. So I just want to open up the gate to that as well. All right, let's keep on going here for a few more questions. I'm sorry, I got into a little place here. We have a little bit of banter between a few of our people, so I'm looking to go through that stuff. Okay. Second question, will it be possible to change the overall interface's color? Pink or multicolored, for instance. So you have great ability to change track colors and things, but there are some DAWs out there, Reaper notably, that really allow you to reskin. Do you guys have ideas about whether you'd like to keep a stock look for Luna, which is cool? It's like halfway between Pro Tools and Logic, or do you want to make it more customizable in the future?
Yeah, we definitely have an aesthetic that we're going for with Luna, and overall with Universal Audio products and hardware and software that we try to strive for. And it's not to say that we're going to prevent folks from having control of color in the future, like as an absolute. Right now, certainly you can only color the track, what we call like the color chip in Luna, which creates the clip color and declares the clip color. And you can see that in the timeline and mixer, and of course on all of your clips in the timeline. But at the moment, yeah, there's no plan to sort of go like full pink background on each channel strip and sort of go Rainbow Road on the mixer view there. But we understand why people want things like that, because it's really fast. You can look at your mixer and see in clear chunks like what part of the session you're in, and just kind of like really fly through scrolling and seeing what you need to work on. So we definitely understand what the reasoning behind that stuff is, but right now it's not really on deck to give you that level of customizability of the GUI. But on the customizable GUI front, there are some folks out there who've kind of picked up on part of the way that the Luna GUI is created, and you can actually swap out PNGs, and we don't really have any sort of instructions on that, but there's actually ways to do some pretty interesting customization of the Luna GUI based on the way that it's implemented. So if you search around, there's some folks who've made like custom skins for Luna already, similar to what others do for other DAWs.
So somewhat easily hackable by those who know what they're doing, and there are forum threads galore on this, I'm sure. All right, very cool to know. Question here from Josh Reyes. He says, do you have to insert a multi-mono plugin to check for phase, or is it on the faders like a console? I guess, can you instantly flip phase, or are you opening up plugins to do that?
Sure. Right now, it is a plugin based workflow. That's another. Stay tuned and keep your eyes on the updates for Luna, because it's another top request that we're well aware of and listening to. So it's just one of those things that over time you should expect out of a recording system like Luna.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't even know if Pro Tools has that, and people have been asking for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah,
Correct.
nice.
Pro Tools does not have a per channel polarity invert feature.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and one thing to know too is that when you're tracking through an Apollo, the input section of Luna and console, does have a polarity reverse built into it, as well as a high pass filter. So on the tracking side of things, you can easily switch that in and out. But then, yeah, after the fact, you'd want to insert a plugin to be able to do it in the mixing stage.
All right. Makes sense. Danielle writes in that Ben and Connor are Luna Jedis, which I think is true.
Hey, Danielle. Hi.
What's up, Daniel? Good to see you again. one of our day one homies on office hours right there.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Danielle, hopefully I'll see you again, Danielle. She's been to a lot of my Mastering Demystified Q&A. She was at the last one, and we're having another one tomorrow. So maybe we'll see you again, Danielle. I hope to see you there. All right. David Lopez Figuero asks, is there a way to change the color of the MIDI notes?
Not at this time. No, the MIDI notes are, so we kind of have this general concept of like the waveform content and the MIDI note content being really high contrast against the full color background of the clip for really high visibility, and also the ability to sort of scale that darkness of the note in particular based on velocity. So we currently don't have note color. Understanding future concepts around like multi-channel MIDI editing and things like that on a single track, it's very likely that there will be changes to that over time. But at the moment, your MIDI notes are black or like shades of gray, depending on the velocity of the note in the clip.
Yeah. All right. Here's a good one from Gerard Schoner, who asks, the zero latency stuff, your ARM, your ARM stuff, which is a great acronym, is it possible to use that with other plugins, not from UAD? For instance, if I loaded up Amplitude, am I going to have the same low latency experience as I would with a universal audio plugin in that slot?
You will not. And the reason is because the Apollo DSP is the core technology that allows us to have that extremely low latency experience. So the plugins that are a part of the ARM workflow run in a mode on the Apollo input channel strip in a way that gives you that incredibly low latency. So only UAD2 plugins will work in ARM mode.
Yeah, that is one of those things that really makes me sold on the whole recording system idea.
Yeah.
Integrating the DSP really into the software experience. That's big, and that's great. And you guys have made that more accessible than ever before in history, I think, with the low cost barrier to get into the UA universe with like the one channel arrows now, and then coupling that with free Luna. And it's like, man, to be able to have that experience at the introductory level, it's just, man, years in the making.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's my experience, especially with DSP stuff. Like for a lot of us, it was back with like TDM systems, right? Like you get used to that workflow of being able to create cues and do some plugin processing and have it still be this reliable signal path that gave you a consistent experience. Those things cost a lot of money back in the day.
Not exactly accessible.
We're not accessible, exactly. Like, having come up using mboxes and only really knowing native, once you learn the speed and the immediacy that you can get from DSP, that's really, like, you just to echo what you're saying there, Justin, like being able to for $500 get an Apollo Solo and you get DSP real-time processing with Luna all included. It's kind of a great mix of technologies at a very affordable price.
Yeah, and it's really a goal to sort of, I mean, that's what's going on under the hood, but it's not this we don't have this notion, aside from like once you get into really like, oh, I've got this many sharks and stuff like that. For a musician, you're just feeling the immediacy and the responsiveness of the system at play and under operation. So you get these incredible analog sounds with no latency, virtually no latency, and you can do it just by plugging in your guitar, your microphone, pulling up Luna, and using UAD2 plugins on the inserts, and that's a ease of use and quality of sound that, for the price point, I don't think it's matched yet, and we're really doing something that's oriented for music creators, and not necessarily like, oh, I've got this like massive DSP system. We knock that out of the park too, because you can go crazy with your shark count, and we certainly love that when that happens. But the immediacy of the system is not focused on, oh, it's a DSP based system with this many channels or this many tracks. It's just like you can just sit down and start making music. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed and sold. Here's a question that I'm not hip enough to understand, but maybe you guys will. Alberto's team asks, is there in Luna an equivalent to the DMD update of Logic Pro? I don't know what that means because I'm not a Logic user.
Here I go to Google. Let's see. DMD update Logic. I don't know what that acronym is.
Same here. I thought like I was the totally uncool one, but I'm glad that we're all equally
okay.
uncool.
Drum machine designer. Got it. Yeah, we're obviously not Logic nerds. There is not a feature like a drum machine designer in Luna. But as you may have seen from our initial launch of Luna, we are working to create virtual instruments, and we've added the MIDI Moog and Ravel instruments to our platform, which are our first forays into this world. So the MIDI Moog is an incredible, faithful recreation, of course, of that Moog monosynth, and Ravel is a absolutely stunning, beautiful Steinway B grand piano. And those are incredible virtual instruments. The Steinway is unlike anything else out there. It has an amount of physical modeling in addition to being an incredibly detailed, multi-sampled grand piano recorded by Alan Sides at former Oceanway Studios. It just sounds phenomenal because those samples, which are the way that pianos are made into virtual instruments, are played back through a model of the resonant chamber that all of the strings are housed in, the body of the cabinet of the piano. And that was modeled with the same attention to detail and level of quality that Universal Audio has brought to all of our previous analog emulation. So that's a sound of a grand piano that you won't find in any other virtual instrument. And the same goes for the MIDI Moog. It's really unlike other virtual instrument monosynth emulations of the MIDI Moog. It sounds phenomenal. And so we are certainly planning to continue making instruments, and you should be on the lookout for what we come up with next. And we just don't have anything like that at the moment. No drum machine designer, but we're going to continue making instruments. That's for sure.
Dig it. Yeah, even hearing just the sound of that MIDI Moog just from Ben's quick demo today was just gorgeous. Yeah, good stuff. I'd love to hear the piano as well. All right, let's keep on going here. Another question. I think I can do this one. Let me try. DJ Mad says, can the plugins in Luna work in other DAWs? I think the answer to that is, if we're talking about the Luna extensions, would be no, right? Because those are Luna exclusive. But all the UAD plugins, they can pretty much work in any DAWs or any format that the general UAD plugins don't do.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you said it exactly. So the UAD2 plugin platform is compatible with virtually all hosts out there, VST and AU, and AAX for Pro Tools. And the Luna extensions and instruments are exclusive to Luna because of the Luna mix engine and the way that those plugins and instruments are created and architected. We are offering them exclusively for use in Luna.
Yeah. All right. Another one here. This is interesting. I'm going to throw you another one that stumped me. It's unusual that these questions stump me. We have an extra great crowd here for the Lunaverse, the Luna Q&A. Cloud9 asks, have you guys thought about her mode tuning for Luna? I have no idea what her mode tuning is. Have you guys ever heard this term?
Well, it makes me think of that. What's that company that makes like Norns and stuff like that? Some really cool modular stuff. But I don't know what that is. And I do know and understand alternative tunings and alternative scale, intonation, things like that. It's not yet a feature of Luna, so I don't know. I can't answer specifically without a quick Google search on what that type of tuning is.
I'm looking at it right now, and it is, it's a specific alternative tuning. This one, the third E needs to be tuned 14 cents higher. And the fifth G needs to be 2 cents higher. So it's one of these things where I don't know if it's a stretch tuning, but alternate tuning modes, I guess, just not something we're doing quite yet.
Correct. Not yet in Luna. And certainly MIDI editing and workflow in general, especially in that sort of compositional, experimental domain of really getting in there and fine tuning everything are concepts that we're certainly well aware of. And there's certainly plenty more to do with Luna on that front, and just stay tuned.
I think Cloud9 just wants to show off that he knows what her mode tuning is, because he's
Yeah, it
totally
might be
seems
a little
smarter
bit
than me
of
now, Cloud9. All right, let's keep going. And remember, bomb these guys. Open up Luna. The best thing you can do, open up Luna and use that button at the top right and tell him, hey, man, I was trying to do some her mode tuning stuff today. And
couldn't find the her mode button.
Yes. We gotta make. Can you make the her mode button as large as possible, please? All right, Josh Reyes, this is a good question. How do you address this one? Do you feel like Luna is capable of handling post and sound design? And here's a question that's easy to answer: can it run video for post and sound design and that kind of stuff?
Luna is not currently targeted at audio post-production. You can run video in Luna using AU plugins that support syncing video as in an AU host. So that is out there. That stuff exists and it works inside of Luna, but Luna does not natively host video or have features that you would expect, like time code rulers and the ability to, sync to incoming time code and things like that to really round out the post-production workflow. There's quite a lot that you need, and we don't have that. And it's not what Luna is currently targeted for. Luna is a music creation system. Yeah. So certainly music creation is a huge part of post, and we're well aware of that and understand some of the basic needs that a music creator working for film or picture or any kind of spot that has video, that there's a few things that, are baseline needed for that workflow. And again, those are the kind of stay tuned and keep on the train with us with Luna updates. And, over time, you'll see what you expect for a lot of these core essential production workflows.
Good stuff. This, I think I can get out of the way for you guys. Let me take my bat at being answering really easy questions. Andre asks, in what format are the plugins? VST, AAX, AU? It's AU. I knew that
is correct.
Yep.
I watched your workshop.
Justin, you passed the test. Congratulations.
Digital high five.
So anyone who can use, who has, if you have AU plugins of any kind, will load up in Luna just like in any other DAW, right?
Yep. AU plugins, AU effects, and also AU MIDI effects. That's one of the things that I found in Hangout and making music with some buddies. Like, the MIDI effects slot gets overlooked a lot of times. And there's one that actually ships inside of Luna that we don't talk a ton about, called ARP, which is a built-in arpeggiator. So being able to connect it with any AU instrument is actually really cool to be able, if there isn't a built-in arpeggiator or an arpeggiator you don't necessarily understand how it works, which I've run into multiple times, you can pop in the ARP MIDI effect and process your incoming MIDI signals going into an instrument.
All right, good stuff. Well, we keep on getting more people and more questions, so keep them coming here in the Q&A. We're up to about 4 dozen folks who are getting their questions answered right now. So let's keep on going through. Here's an interesting one about how long do you think you'd expect the learning curve to be? So Alberto asks, what is a normal learning curve for someone coming from Logic Pro X to Luna in terms of time? I know there's so much variability there in terms of the person, how often they're doing it, what their background skills are, but do you have any targets for that kind of thing of how long do you think it's going to take to be able to do basic things, and then how long the average person is going to take before they really feel like they know the system inside and out?
Sure. Well, first of all, I really love that question. I think that's such a interesting, perfect, thoughtful question for this kind of thing, and a great one. So I think what comes to mind for me is the feedback that I've read, which continues to just be incredibly satisfying and really wonderful, alongside all of the feature requests and helpful reports of issues that people are finding, is this: I've stopped using X, Y, or Z. And we're seeing that from people coming from multiple environments where they are so impressed with the sound quality, so impressed with how intuitive the workflow is, that we get this feedback that, it's not me saying like, well, I've heard or this or that, it's like I've read enough direct feedback from our users that makes me feel absolutely confident that I can say, if you're familiar with production workflows in any of the major DAWs out there, that you'll find your way pretty quickly in Luna. It's very intuitive. We've set it up so there's not a lot of tweaking that you need to do with preferences or modes or tools to get running and get creating really quickly. So if you have a general familiarity with any one workstation, there's going to be certain things like where your eyes go. Like if you're a live user, you're going to look at everything across the bottom, or if you're a Logic user, you're kind of focused on the left. And we've got things like that. And you've got some concepts in play with, especially coming from Logic, that are absolutely in place in Luna, like the way tracks and buses work. There's just a direct connection between the source material and like what is called an aux in Logic, and we have buses in Luna. Editing is very natural because in Luna right now, there aren't any tools or modes that you need to think of. You just move your mouse around, and the mouse and the timeline react responsively to show you what you can do and give you a hint about what you're going to do when you click the mouse over a fade, or to trim a clip, or to edit warps, to time compress and expand audio. It all happens and feels really natural, and we get direct feedback like that. So I'm very confident to say that if you spend some time with it, you'll find a lot that's very familiar to you, and in many cases even easier to use than what you might be familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Good stuff.
I've heard about a lot of people. A great way to kind of dip your toe into Luna is to start with tracks that already. So this has been a lot of people's entry point. Is they'll take a session from Pro Tools or Logic, export the stems, drag and drop, bring them into a Luna session, and then just kind of start learning the mixer, start learning the mixing workflow, and starting to learn, because Luna also has a sound to it. Like that's, if you're using the oxide tape or the Studer tape on the channels, or the Neve summing on your buses, there's so much depth to the sound that you have available just from those tools alone, that you really start kind of learning, oh, this has got a sound, it's got a feel. You start learning how the faders, how the routing all works, and then you switch over to the edit window, play around with some edits and some arrangement ideas. You can start learning how versions work, and then especially when you start start using Luna as a production tool, starting to do some MIDI work inside there. Again, it comes free with our instrument Shape, which is a multi-sampler. It comes with a ton of amazing curated sounds. Again, just make a new instrument track, throw a Shape on there, start learning. It really helps kind of break it down piece by piece and make it, bite it off a little chunk at a time as you're learning. Will really speed things up. And as Connor said, you'll coming from any DAW, you're going to notice a lot of familiar workflows, but then you're also going to find there's going to be plenty of times where you're like, where's this thing? I know where it is in Pro Tools, or I know where it is in Logic. How do I find it here? Well, the help menu is great. There's you can type in basically anything that you're looking for in the menus. You can find it really quickly using the help menu. But if you do get totally stumped, as Connor mentioned, there's a feedback form inside of Luna. That's kind of a one-way street that sends feedback into the developers, but we do have an amazing two-way street that you recognize this mug from. Basically, every Monday we do a show called Office Hours over on our YouTube channel. And Mondays are basically Q&As. It's similar to this, where people can come in, ask questions, and we'll show them how to do things. We always come prepared with a few things to show, some new tips and tricks that we're learning along with you guys. But more importantly, if people do get stumped, they can show up to Office Hours, and even if we don't bring up the question on air, there's an amazing community of lunatics that show up every Monday as well. So the chat is always a really helpful
We've probably got a few here. Any lunatics in here? Definitely let us know in the comments below. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, go over to Universal Audio's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over there and hit the notifications bell, and you'll get alerted every time they have a new live Office Hours on Monday. What time of day are you doing those, Ben?
We typically do them in the morning, about 10 a.m. Pacific. So we're able to hit all the coasts, and also allow our folks over in Europe to join in, so it's not too late for them.
Good stuff, man. Perfect timing. Mm-hmm. A couple more questions here. This is an interesting one from Alberto, who asks, I don't know if you can answer this specifically, but hopefully you can give us something. How many users does Luna currently have, and how many do you expect to have by the end of the year?
Yeah, we can't talk about that specifically. We have some numbers on that, and it would not be appropriate for me to share them exactly. But I can tell you that we, in the first several months of Luna's launch, I personally read over 10,000 feedback items, because as the product designer and product owner of the project, it was incredibly satisfying to me to see this amount of feedback. And so that's people that were engaged enough to run the app, take it in, think about it, see what was there, provide feedback saying what they thought, and ask for features. And we got, well over 10,000 of those in the first several months. And I think that's a good measure to say, that there are many, many people out there using Luna and
engaged too.
And engaged. Yeah. And really, really feeling like they're a part of something. And
not people who just download something and then forget about it, like they've downloaded a million other free things.
Yeah. And the thing that we're really doing to keep people engaged is doing frequent updates and, targeting the things that we get as primary feedback that are, that we can do in a shorter matter of time, like particular bug fixes or particular features, and really, push those out when we feel like we can, and make it so that you feel like you're being heard. Obviously there's things that take months or even years in some cases to develop and test and get right. And of course we're working on those kinds of things, but we're also able to go in and do little features or little fixes and optimizations and things primarily based on what the engaged user base is saying to us. And I think that's something that's really right now really unique and special in this space of workstations and recording systems.
Very cool. Speaking of engaged user base, there's a question that's come up a couple times. I want to throw out to you. It's another one of those feature requests or feature questions, which is a couple of variations of this. David Lopez Figueroa asks, I understand that Luna is always auto-saving, but are there any plans to give users the options to save different versions of a project without having to copy all of the audio files? Or I would interject, are there any workarounds to that with the current system?
I'm just going to straight up say yes to that question. There are plans, and stay especially tuned for such things. So, again, we don't talk about when, but that's been
a high priority. Very
high priority. And we don't even need to talk about workarounds at the moment, because you're going to be in a lot better shape soon. Yep.
And David, you were the one that pushed him over the edge, and is going to make it happen as soon as possible. So thank you.
Now you guys know Connor's tell. You can tell, like the full smile, like that's the hint.
I'm so bad at poker. Don't even. Yeah, we can't go there.
Josh Reyes asks, as far as the learning curve thing, how about key commands? Are they similar to the key commands we'd expect in Pro Tools and Logic? And can you customize the key commands at all?
We do not yet have customizable keyboard shortcuts, but we did take a lot of really carefully considered direct keyboard shortcut implementation from what folks are used to. So that is just kind of the baseline of that, is that we wanted people to feel familiar. And a lot of the keyboard shortcuts, if you've been around the block for a while, working with Pro Tools, working with Logic, you're going to find things that are essentially familiar to you. Yeah.
Joel Cruz chimes in on that idea to say, it took me a week or two coming from Studio One, just a matter of learning the shortcuts, workflow, and it was easy to get down. And, I'll tell you guys just my experience of switching things. I remember I had to teach a college class in Logic, having used Pro Tools for a decade, never used Logic before. And I basically stayed one lesson ahead of the kids. And it was amazing to me how quickly you could learn this stuff once you already have the concepts down. So if you have the conceptual understanding from other DAWs, it just is a matter of, okay, where's the button? And it's a little bit of a nuisance at first sometimes when the button's in a different place or you hold down a different key command, but it's amazing how fast you can learn those things. For instance, I do a lot of video editing now, Sonic Scoop, nothing I've ever trained for before. I'm a totally amateur video editor, but serviceable enough. When I don't know how to do something, I type it into the YouTube machine and I get an answer. And it's just amazing how fast you can pretend to be a pro. So I think you'll have the same experience with Luna.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And Cloud9, he had a similar experience. He said, came from Cubase, and I'm not a pro, but I was flowing within a couple of weeks. So another person saying the same kind of thing, that, a couple of weeks is really all it takes for them to feel pretty comfortable. Evan Sievers gives us very important feedback. He says it's a fine beard and a nice balance of color. I don't know which one of you handsome gentlemen he's talking about. It could be either of you. You have to specify in there, Evan. All right. I think we're getting close to down to the end of Luna specific questions and, specific Luna features requests and stuff. But I do have a couple more questions for you that are a little bit more universal audio focused. Here's one from Dramatic Chromatics, who says, what are your essential plugins for vocalists?
Ben.
Yeah. All right. Essential plugins for vocalists. So I guess I'll start with all the Apollos come with a collection of plugins, the Analog Classics and the Analog Classics Real Time. So right out of the box, when you buy an Apollo, you're getting a 610 preamp, you're getting a 1176 emulation, and an LA2A emulation. There's a vocal sound right there. Like that would actually sound really, really good. So it's nice that out of the box, you're kind of hooked up with some tools like get you ready to go. But then as we want to take that further, it just kind of becomes a kind of story of nuance, of kind of defining characteristic for whatever sound you're going for. So specifically for vocals, there's this very aptly named plugin called the Manly Vox Box. Man, this I did a video on this with the rapper Greaves about a year or two ago. And we go into detail about all the different settings and everything, all the options that are in there. But at a high level, you got a 2 mic pre, an optical compressor, a de-esser, and a Pultec style EQ all wrapped up in one box. It's kind of a one-stop shop for making great sounding vocals. And of course, there's incredible Neve emulations, so if you go for something like the new Neve 1084, if you want that Neve sound, it's got incredibly powerful EQ. But another sleeper hit that's incredibly good for vocals is something called the Century Tube Channel Strip, where it's another mic pre, EQ, compressor bundled up into one. Super easy to use, has a great sound to it as well. And yet again, I'm just promoting my own videos here. Did a video on that with Marty about 2 years ago. It's labeled like a 5-minute tip about Century Tube Channel Strip. But yet again, it's a great one for being able to quickly dial in a vocal sound. And then personal favorites here. I'm a SSL E-channel kind of guy. I love all the flexibility. Being able to high pass, low pass filter. It's got a great compressor that just is such a familiar sound, especially if you're doing pop or hip hop music. That's a huge go-to.
Now, like a true audio nerd, you're going straight for EQs, compressors, and preamps. What about some effects? Are there any? What would be some of the first effects that you'd add on? First of all, what are some of the effects that are included for people buying some of this Apollo stuff that makes sense for vocals? And what would be some of the first ones that you would personally add on?
Yeah. So one of the ones that ship with every Apollo is Real Verb Pro, which is an incredible room modeling reverb. It's got a delightfully how do I put this, old looking GUI, but it's part of its character. It sounds incredible. It sounds so much better than it looks. So it's one of those satisfying ones that, like, when you pull it up, you're like, is this gonna be good? And then you find a preset in there, and it does sound amazing. So that one ships with the Analog Classics. But honestly, one of my big go-tos nowadays is the Lexicon 480. Just because the variety of sounds, and yet again, like, it's the iconic plates, it's iconic rooms and hall sounds that the minute you strap it on, you're like, oh, yeah, no, I know that sound. Like, it's this familiar analog. I guess it's not an analog box, it's a digital box, but it's the tone. It's not, this is a big thing I think people pick up after you use UAD plugins for a while, is we don't just emulate the ones and zeros of what's going on. It's the entire signal path. So it's the A to D conversion, and the transformers tubes, the circuit level modeling that happens inside of every UAD plugin. That means you're not just running it through the program that was on the box, you're actually getting everything around it as well, which fully captures the essence of all these processors. So yeah, the 480 is a big one for me. And then the other one that I typically, if I just quickly want really smooth sounding reverb, the Capital Chambers. Absolutely incredible. It's one of those ones where, the minute you throw guitar or vocals into there, they sound huge. But it's nice. This is one of those plugins that goes farther than what you can do in real life, because if you guys are familiar with the Capital Chambers, the way it's in real life, you have to request to be patched into one of the chambers. They go out in the hallway, they patch you in, and then you get you can maybe book 1 or 2 of these at a time, if you're lucky, when you book your session at Capitol. But what you can do is, in the plugin, you can choose between the 4, but more importantly, you can actually move the microphones in the plugin. Whereas in real life, to move the microphones, it involves sending interns 30 feet down below the parking garage into the musty caves to move the microphones, and they don't do it for basically anyone these days. And so you can actually change the presence, you can change the decay time, you just get a little bit more flexible control over the sound while still retaining the authentic sound of those chambers.
That's only possible in real life with a personal injury waiver to go and climb down there and not hold capital liable for falling 30 feet into a concrete well.
Era before child labor laws, we just send some 8-year-olds down there. They're small enough.
Yep.
It has been very hard making a recording system post child labor laws. We'll be honest.
All right. Here's one last question I'd like to ask you guys. I first of all really appreciate the generous amount of time you've given us with both the workshop and the all the questions and answers today. We've advertised this as being a 30-minute Q&A. We're already over 40 minutes in, so I don't want to keep these guys all day. If you have, maybe we can get 1 or 2 more questions in, but we'll have to cut it off here pretty soon. But here's a good one from Relax Max, who asks, is there any well-known music that has been made on Luna? So I'd open that up a little bit. Are there any well-known music producers using it? Jakir King's an obvious one, just did a masterclass here yesterday. But any major releases that came out that you can think of, or artists or producers who are using it, who you've heard good feedback from? Maybe you can't mention all of them, but maybe there's some.
Yeah, I know. So Ben might have a pulse on a few more than I do, but there's definitely some stuff in the works right now that is not necessarily like of Universal Audio's making. Like we partnered with Jakir King and funded and encouraged him, and were with him as he produced this incredible song by Cass McCombs. It's available. The full multi-track is available as a demo session for Luna, and that was a released single that Cass did, and it's beautiful. It's an incredible song, really interesting, kind of classic, but also indie rock, modern kind of tune. And Jakir has kind of fully taken the leap. Fab, of course, is deeply embedded. And there's a number of productions going on right now or wrapping up that are, by major artists or notable artists who are working entirely in Luna for those productions. So there's quite a bit of buzz around it, and quite a bit of that vibe of like, oh my God, this just sounds so good, so fast that I'm just inspired again. And we were hearing that quite a lot, and it's pretty fun and pretty exciting. So I'm sure we're going to just keep seeing more and more.
That's wonderful. And this
records.
is a DAW that's less than a half a year old. It was released in April, and now we're in October. So it's almost at the 6-month mark. It can't even walk yet, and yet it has all these users and stuff. So this is pretty remarkable stuff.
Well, and a big thing that I hear in a lot of conversations with artists is, they're using it as part of the process. So, a big thing, especially for most modern producers, is you're kind of, maybe you're starting a song in Ableton, and then you're recording vocals in Luna, and then you're going to Pro Tools to do an edit, and coming back to Luna for final. Like, it's a little all over the place, and it's been a part of a process for a lot of people now, whether it's at the tail end or at the beginning. We all live in a very DAW fluid society these days, where knowing how to use Logic, Ableton, Pro Tools, Cubase, and Luna really sets you up to be able to do anything creatively that you want to do, and being able to interplay between all of them, and collaborate with multiple producers. You end up finding just a lot of reasons to kind of bounce back and forth from one to the other. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are just really attracted to finishing projects in Luna because of the analog nature of its sound engine. Yeah,
wonderful. Well, guys, I think that's absolutely great. I think we've got to leave it there in the interest of time. Really appreciate you guys for joining us on the channel. Appreciate all of you who are asking questions too. And big thanks to you guys for helping make the Jakir King presentation happen. If you guys haven't checked that out, definitely check it out here on the Sonic Scoop YouTube channel. If you want to hear some sounds inside of Luna, in addition to Jakir's presentation, there's a workshop these guys just did. I bet a bunch of you have seen that, but a whole bunch of people have joined us since we started. So just wanted to let everyone know that. Also, if you want to win some free stuff from Universal Audio and all the other Mixcon sponsors, check that out at sonicscoop.com/Mixcon giveaway. That's sonicscoop.com/Mixcon giveaway, where you can enter for one of 3 chances to win in the Mixcon Mega giveaway. Hand off to you guys. Where are the best places for people to find out more about Luna, follow what you guys are doing online?
Yeah, we Universal Audio all across the social media. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you'll find tons of posts and content from us. Obviously, uaudio.com. Visit there if you want to download Luna or learn more about any of the Universal Audio products. Specifically, we put a lot of time and effort into our YouTube page these days. So we've got lots of long form content, tons of live streams. We just did a presentation with Shakir last week as well, where we were showing how to track a band inside of Luna. So he brought in a whole band to his studio in Nashville, and we got to see the entire process of recording drums, bass, guitar, keyboards, and then vocals, which was a really fun event. And of course, we're also putting these Luna sessions inside of Luna, so you can download and open up sessions from Shakir and Atticus Russ and many others that are coming between now and the end of the year. But yeah, so uaudio.com for all information. Universal Audio's YouTube channel for the latest and greatest content. Facebook and Instagram for daily posts and content, and lots of community interaction there. And then I want to give a shout out also to UAD forums, not officially part of the company, but it's an amazing resource. It's a message board dedicated 100% to UA and UA products. So
I bet you if I wanted to reskin Luna, that'd be the place I'd look.
That might be the first stone I'd turn over, would be over in UAD forums. Exactly.
All right.
It's a great community of people. And, that's the best part about everything that we get to do, especially myself, is, getting to hang out and learn from our community of both users and artists. And man, it's super inspiring to be able to work with these people every day.
Wonderful. Well, again, Ben Lindell, thank you so much for joining us here on the Sonic Group YouTube channel. Connor Sexton, thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely great to have you guys here. Remember to hit like and subscribe and the notifications bell to make sure you don't miss any more videos like this or more MixCon coming up. We've got new presentations coming out every week. We still got about 3 more weeks left of MixCon, so there'll be at least 1 masterclass and 1 workshop every week, and actually more. We've got some panels coming up with the Grammy Foundation, some panels with some other brands as well. So we've got panel discussions, workshops, interviews, live Q&As, master classes from major producers and engineers. So definitely stay tuned for that. We've got one actually coming up tomorrow with Maria Elisa Ierbe, who has mixed some tremendous Latin music productions. Week after that, Michael Brower, one of these living legends of mixing, and a whole bunch of greats. Sylvia Massey coming up the week after that. So hope to see you there. And make sure you check out Universal Audio, both at uaudio.com and at their YouTube channel, where you can get office hours with Ben every Monday if you want to spend some more quality time with this guy. All right. Thank you guys again so much for joining me. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. See you next time.
Thanks
so much, everyone.
All right. Now I have to make sure I don't say anything terrible before I hit the end stream button. Here we go. End stream. Bam.